Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Thanks so much for clicking. It means a lot that you guys keep clicking. If you guys keep clicking, I'll keep making. And after these past two seasons, man, is definitely a failure by Survivor. And I think that failure is rooted for plenty of different reasons. But I think the thing that does stand true is that this failure has shown through the ratings. The ratings have dropped a lot. And I think to me, the biggest question is how do we solve that? What's the best case scenario? And then also, we do have to think of what is the worst case scenario for this show's future. And I actually have a very interesting solution to the show, which actually involves the show being canceled. So I want to get into it and really look at what I think is wrong with the show right now and what I think needs to happen for the show to improve and get back to its height, wherever you may think that may be. Personally, I think it reached its height from seasons 28 to 40, I think, were its best. Although there are some seasons within there that are bad, and maybe you could cut that off around 37. So I guess 28 to 37 would also work. But to me, just overall, from when Tony first appears to when Tony last appears, to me is when Survivor hits its streak. Not necessarily just because of Tony, but just in general, that era of Survivor to me is peak Survivor. And I'm just wondering, how are we going to get back to it? So we'll get to that. But first, like, share, subscribe, do all that good stuff because it's easy, it's free, and it really helps the channel out. So obviously, I want to focus on the fact that things don't feel right in this new era of Survivor. I think, first of all, you definitely have the woke stuff. First and foremost, to me, is the biggest issue. When I'm in constant fear of there being some radical identity politics on my screen, that's not a good thing. I shouldn't be happy when a season doesn't have that, of which I was for the first, 10 episodes of 42. It's one of those things where it's like, I shouldn't have to hope and pray that I don't see radical politics on my Survivor screen. So I think that's definitely one of them. Another thing is the 26 days, which to me led to an irregular pace in the game. To me, it really felt like the game it felt rushed, but also too slow in a way. The game also feels like the players are very exhausted because in order to suffice for having 26 days, they seem to try and make the game a lot harder. They don't feed them, and it leads to the players being more exhausted and the game feeling rushed. And so overall, I think the 26 days is the other big thing as well. And so with these problems, I think the solution isn't easy. Now, obviously, for 26 days, you would think that it's so easy. Just go back to 39 days since, COVID's no longer an issue. But CBS, knowing how CBS is, it'll probably stay with 26 days since they know that it's much cheaper to make and that they can film 2 seasons actually back to back instead of usually when they take like a 2-week break. If they film them 26 days, then they can actually film them back to back and only have to go out there one time. So I don't really see them switching back to the old format there. And so I guess the issue would be you have to start feeding them, maybe less food. I can understand that, but I'd rather they be overfed than underfed. To me, these two casts felt exhausted during the post-merge, and it really led to a lack of gameplay. I mean, this post-merge, to me, there's been no flips. It's always, I guess you could call the Rockshroy Buddha flip, but besides that, it really seems like these vote offs are just okay. Yep, like they're on the bottom, everyone agrees, they get voted off. Like the Shan blindside of this season was, I guess, supposed to be the high blindside in which every person was on board. It was a very similar vote where it was 6-2 against one person. The only difference is Shan is obviously much bigger of a character. And they got much more lucky with Shan than they did with Hai. And so, again, the season's post-merge is looking very lackluster with the gameplay, which I think is a direct side effect of the 26 days. Also, on top of that, when you go to the woke stuff, now 42 is actually doing pretty good. Obviously, there was small instances of it. For an example, you have Hai and Romeo's gay conversation, which to me felt really out of place, unnecessary, and slowed down the pace of the episode. Unlike, personal talks like Jonathan and Mike's talk about being, I guess bigger. and being more muscular and the big guy. It definitely went more with the theme of the episode at that time, which was Mike's social game blossoming. Romeo and Hai convo just kind of fell out of place, to be honest. And it's weird. It's like I do think that production and Survivor and CBS sees the ratings tanking due to this woke stuff and wants to do less of it and scale back on it, because they know that if you go woke, you go broke. But I think it's tough because they put themselves in a spot where they filmed these 2 seasons with that woke mindset. Then 41 aired, did terrible, had a bunch of woke stuff. And so they went back to the drawing board, edited out a bunch of woke stuff from 42, I'm guessing, because there wasn't much woke until this episode 2 weeks ago. And then they realized that they couldn't edit this out. They couldn't edit Drea and Marianne's meltdown out because it's such a big part of the episode and of the show, and 2 idols are played. So you really can't edit that out. And so they were put in a spot where they had to put it in. And so they put it in. And for me, then my biggest gripe with it is that they put the emotional music behind Drea and Marianne's parts to basically coerce the audience to go on their side and think Jonathan's the bad guy, which I think is unnecessary. Now, it does make me believe that maybe Drea or Marianne is our winner, because then I guess Survivor would then get another out, another excuse if one of them is the winner, because then you have to paint them in a good light in any big argument or conflict. But then again, it's hard because I feel like I'm making excuses for the show that the show doesn't deserve, but I don't want to jump on the show like some people are, because I do still have faith in the show. And I think that right now the show, I'm going to give them until next season, until 43 and 44 are done airing, to fix this up, because now they've seen the reaction, and now they can go back after seeing the reaction and film 2 seasons with a new mindset. And if there's not that new mindset, if there's not those changes, we are going to have some serious problems. And for me, that's really the big thing is that if the show can take what happened in these 2 seasons and allow it to change certain things, maybe you take away some of these bad twists that were repeated on 42 and still ended up kind of meh, being like, for an example, the beware advantages, or this do or die twist that we know is probably coming up next episode. Those are not good twists. Also, the hourglass should never ever come back. Now, if you want to keep some good ones, like the amulet, or even like the red paint idea, to me is a pretty cool idea. That stuff from this new era that I like. Those are changes from this new era that I like. Keep that. So you don't have to go back to 28 through 37 Survivor, but you do have to at least add some things from those eras, and also keep this new era stuff as well, but then take away some stuff that's not working. And also on top of that, the woke stuff has to go 100%. But I think overall, the thing that's going to save Survivor is what made it good, which is casting better. These 2 casts are okay on paper. I think 42 ended up panning out, but that's only because I think 41's cast was so bad that we were just so excited to get a cast that was maybe not as unlikable. And on top of that, 42's cast seems to have been edited better, where they're editing the characters in more balanced ways and more likable ways. And so I think definitely the 42 cast is better, but both casts share like this blandness where it seems like they're almost just robots playing the game. I really get no personality out of them, which to me is a serious issue. And so I'm really trying to look at the positive. Those who say I'm a Survivor hater, I hate Survivor, I should just pick a different show. No, I'm being critical because I love this show, and so I'm trying to give it a bunch of chances, chance after chance. But if Survivor keeps this up and eventually drives away most of their fan base, chances will run out and the show will go off the air. And like I hinted at earlier, honestly, maybe that's the best thing, that the show goes off the air, it learns its mistake, and it ends up losing everything based off of all this woke stuff, and realizes that was the reason, does some self-reflecting, and comes back on the air maybe 3 or 4 years later, maybe on like a different network who actually knows what they're doing and who has a backbone, and comes back stronger than ever. And because I think right now, and unless the show does so bad and tanks so hard that it goes off the air, they're still gonna think that they can stay on the air doing this nonsense and think, well, at least we're still on the air with it. The ratings may have dropped, but at least we still have a TV show. I think if the TV show were to tank so bad that it got canceled, I think we could see a big improvement if it came back one day. The issue with that, obviously, is if it never comes back, then we're screwed. So, I don't know. Let me know what you think in the comments. Is the show in big trouble, or am I just overreacting a bunch? Comment down below and let me know. As always, guys, none of this happens without you guys. Mature guys being a weird microphone. So as always, thank you. And if that's it, I'll talk to you guys in the next one. Peace.